What's going on, Cubs fam? We are back for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and today, my people, I have brought a very, very special guest, a very good friend of mine that I met out at Gamescom and also at the Jedi Fallen Order event last year. He is covering Star Wars Battlefront 2 on a very regular basis. You probably know him. His name is Bombastic. What's going on, Bombastic?
Hey man, how's it going? It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you so much for joining me on this video. The last time I saw you, we were fighting with our brand new Galaxy's Edge lightsabers on Main Street at Disneyland.
That's still one of my fondest memories from 2019. Just knowing that I nearly kicked your ass in an empty Disneyland at 1 a.m. was beautiful.
Hey, you were scared of me,
moment.
dude. I came at you. I could see. I struck the fear of God in you.
Dude, like, I had to watch my actual life. Like, I was actually freaking out.
I did give you, like, the Palpatine-style lunges, didn't I?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and I'm trying to, like, swipe you out of the way. Great moment.
Disneyland looks about as empty then as it did now. It was closed when we did that. It was late at night, and now there's nobody there, sadly. So hopefully we can meet again at Disneyland at some point. So let me tell you guys why I brought Bombastic on in this video. As you may have heard, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is canceling its live updates after the update that hit today, covering with the Scarif update for Capital Supremacy, etc. And this is really, really sad news. And I wanted to talk a little bit with Bombastic, with somebody who's really, really into the Star Wars Battlefront community, on what this means for Star Wars video games in general. Is this bad news for EA? Is this bad news for the license? Could this mean Galaxy of Heroes could get shut down too? So, Bombastic, before we get into all of that, I just wanted to ask you, before we get into it, how did you feel about the news when you woke up and you checked Twitter and boom, Battlefront getting canceled?
It was quite a shock, to be honest. I woke up and everything happens for me overnight because I'm in Australia, so I wake up and kind of all the news has already happened. Checked my phone when I woke up and there were like 1,000 notifications there. Just everyone's kind of, sending support and stuff to the DICE devs, and I'm like, oh crap, what's going on? And yeah, Battlefront's cancelled. And the whole of yesterday for me just felt really strange because, like, so many other YouTubers, like so many other fans, devs, everyone, this game has been kind of such a big part of our lives for the past 3 or so years.
Yeah.
And knowing that that's now kind of moving on to the next stage, or, we don't really know what's happening next. It's a very strange feeling and very, confused. I'm like, sad, to be honest.
You can hear that in your voice. I mean, if you guys follow Bombastic, he's one of the more cheery, happy guys I've ever met in my life, and you hear that sadness, and I feel it too. I mean, I wasn't nearly as plugged in to the Battlefront community as you were, but it was one of my go-to games, even though I bought a PC that can finally stream it, and now they're stopping live updates. But I would be able to play it off stream, and I was in there all the time, and it felt like a knife, I felt like it was like Yoda dropping his cane, like, oh my gosh, not Battlefront.
That's the moment. That's it there. Great callback, man. That was the moment for me. Absolutely.
I think it speaks a lot too to the dev team at DICE, that I feel like with Galaxy of Heroes, like let me tell you a little bit about how Galaxy of Heroes is. If Galaxy of Heroes were shut down, I think all of us would be screaming at CG because we don't like how they're handling the game right now. But with Battlefront 2 losing their live updates, I see so many messages sending love to DICE, especially Dennis and Ben Walk, etc. They've just really done an amazing job with this game.
I 100% agree. And it's funny, like, even talking to some of my friends who don't really play the game, even they're kind of disappointed it's being cancelled.
Yeah.
Because it's such a strange feeling because of where I think this game came from, knowing that this is the same game that, like, 2.5 years ago had such a terrible launch, possibly one of the worst launches in gaming history, or the whole loot box thing and everything around that. Knowing that it rose from the ashes and became something that, we all grew to love. And now it's kind of, it's still there, obviously. It's not going away. Like, it's still going to be there. It's just no longer going to be updated. And that's kind of just it's hard to swallow. It's hard to know that that's a reality.
It is. I mean, especially because, I mean, thinking about how much they could do. I mean, I think about some things that we always wanted to come to the game and that we've recently found out we wanted to come to the game that just won't ever be, like Ahsoka or Asajj Ventress or
It's true.
a number of other
I feel
Clone
like a
Wars
lot of
contents or
people have
Mandalorian.
unfinished business with it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
even the developers from their standpoint, it seems like even they are disappointed, and perhaps the decision, it didn't necessarily come from them.
I don't think. Do you think there's any possibility that this was DICE's decision?
I mean, no, not really.
Yeah.
It looks like, I mean, to me, hard to say what's happening next based on kind of the feeling that I almost feel like they're done with it, right? Based on the general consensus I've seen on Reddit and Twitter, all the devs talking, it's like this is their completed Star Wars project now. And even they aren't really sure where the future's going. You know, Battlefield, the next Battlefield game is currently in development, and I feel like DICE may be pulling on extra resources from the Star Wars team to work on that. In terms of like if DICE, it's hard to think though that DICE wouldn't end up making another Star Wars game though, based on the work they've done over the past, been working on Star Wars now for at least 6-7 years since first Battlefront started development, and really all that work just put into these two games.
So operate under the assumption that the original fiasco with Battlefront was an EA thing, not a DICE thing with the loot boxes. That's been my assumption. You can correct me if I'm wrong. How much do these devs deserve better for how much they were given the worst hand possible to start, and they got to work instead of keeling over and just letting the game die? They got to work and convinced how many people, you know what? That launch sucked. That was terrible. One of the worst in history, but we are going to still give you what you deserve and get us to a point where we have an amazing game. To hear that they might not get to do a Battlefront 3 or they're done with Star Wars. I just feel like that is the most shafty situation that they could be given. Am I off base there?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think they deserve, so much credit for the way the game evolved and what it became and what it is now. Even the latest update, like Scarif, is awesome. The amount of content they put in the game. There's a new map. It feels great. It's great.
Yeah,
it feels like that immersive Star Wars experience the game is. But and again, the future's not really clear. Like, I want to go out and say that they're definitely not making a next Battlefront or something else. The thing is, if they were to make a Battlefront 3, the amount of work that's gone into Battlefront 2, it's hard to see how a 3 can get made now unless it completely does something radically different to the previous two games, or has so much content at launch that otherwise it's going to feel empty. Battlefront 2 has been supported for the past 2.5 years. There's been 25 updates, so many maps. There's like 50 maps in the game or something. It's ridiculous. So many characters, so many different skins. How can a new game launch with all that and then kind of top that? For me, if they're going to do number 3, it's either going to do something, they're going to do something so different, or they have to move away from the Battlefront name and kind of
do their own thing. So let's talk a little bit about this, what's next, because this is where I think a lot of people who play Galaxy of Heroes may be concerned or relieved, depending on how they feel about the game right now. But do you think this could be indicative of something like what we saw with Netflix and Marvel? How obviously Disney owns Marvel. Netflix was kind of like an EA, right? They're making these shows instead of video games, though. And we pull back because Netflix is no longer making these shows that were doing great, right? A lot of those shows were amazing, except for maybe season 1 of Iron Fist, which I'll take a pass on. And then they've launched their own platform now, so now they're just moving everything to Disney Plus. Do you think that this could be indicative of them doing something similar with EA, where maybe EA is going to be done with Star Wars games, and we'll see all these Star Wars games get canceled and stop live updates, and then they're just going to kind of continue on their own with either LucasArts or something else?
I don't think you can say that, no. Just because I know Respawn are definitely working on another game, whether that's Jedi Fallen Order 2 or another single-player Star Wars
It's gotta be
experience.
Jedi Fallen Order 2. Yeah.
They're currently hiring staff to work on a new Star Wars game. They're looking for a new writer recently, I think, and there's other like development roles. So like they have a Star Wars team dedicated at Respawn. I don't think are just going to give up, such a huge IP as well as Star Wars. They want to maintain that relationship with Disney, Lucasfilm, and it's hard to see. Like, are there other EA studios currently working on Star Wars games? We know there've been, a couple, or it's a short list of Star Wars games cancelled in the past few years. In the past 5 or so years, one was worked on by Visceral, the a studio that was shut down, I think, in 2017.
Okay.
Redwood Shores, and yeah, those projects have kind of, I think, evolved and been handed on to other studios, and based on everything we know on the web, there's definitely something going on behind the scenes that they just haven't announced yet. I'd like to believe, anyway.
So the glimmer of hope then is that we do have confirmation that they're still hiring, right, is what you said. So this is actually news to me, so thanks for bringing that up. They're still hiring at Respawn for a new Star Wars project we know it's Star Wars, but we don't know exactly what. We're kind of assuming Fallen Order.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they've had, it's been over the past few months that, and I feel like, spoiler alert, the way Jedi Fallen Order ended, it is kind of open-ended. You know what I mean? Like, it's open to interpretation. They've definitely left it open to, hey, we can make another game here based on the success of Fallen Order as well. Like, it outperformed EA's projections of sales in the first couple months. Like, they estimated it sell 6 to 8 million copies. I think it sold like 10 million before they even, reached their 8 million. But by the time they thought it was going to reach 8 million. So it's hard to see them not making another single player experience. And don't think EA are done with Star Wars.
Okay. Well, hopefully we get more announcements soon on where they're going next. If not Battlefront, I would hope not just a new version of Jedi Fallen Order, but some kind of online first-person shooter. I love the Battlefront community, and we deserve something like this as Star Wars fans, and I just would love to see not just a single player, but a live service game that gets regular updates, kind of like Battlefront coming up soon. Hopefully that's what this means. But I think really what it probably means, and after our discussion, I think the easiest conclusion we could draw that would make the most sense is it just comes down to the almighty dollar. Battlefront wasn't making them money.
Yeah, there's been some talk around whether the Celebration Edition, which launched in December last year alongside Rise of Skywalker, whether that performed well enough. Yeah. Kind of a pack you could buy in the game where you could unlock, it was like 150 skins in the game. It was kind of a cosmetic pack, $25 US, and you unlock basically everything in the game that's been updated over the past 2 years, right?
Right.
So I'm sure perhaps that didn't perform as well as they were hoping. Perhaps the money wasn't coming in enough anymore, and the player base was starting to kind of dwindle a little bit. So they decided it was time to call it on that project and hopefully move on to another bigger, better thing.
And you know what I really think when it comes to Battlefront, I think that it was just, even though the devs did everything they possibly could to revive that game, there was still a stigma that people couldn't let go, even though the stigma was unfair at a certain point, I feel like. Even though if you look at the launch, where the game was at launch, I think it was fair, but what the game became was so different than what it looked like at launch that so many people, I mean, I talk to people a lot where I'm at. I mean, you were deep in the community, but with Galaxy of Heroes, a lot of people that had never played the game just thought, oh, that game's just, it's crap because of what they saw at launch. And I just think it was really hard to overcome that. And so perhaps the best answer for them from a financial standpoint is to have a different name, do rebranding, do Star Wars, do something similar, but different enough that they don't start out behind. Because I feel like even if you did Battlefront 3, which I would love them to do, I think you would still have some of that baggage that comes along with Battlefront 2. Even though DICE has done everything to erase it, there's only so much you can do with one of the biggest gaming controversies of all time, right?
So true. That's such an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. I think the devs have to be so proud of kind of how they evolved that game and where it is today. And everyone who plays it couldn't be more supportive of them. I think it's just, even in the past day where this cancellation, the ending support for the game is kind of up. It's I've seen nothing but praise online for the game that they've created and where they've taken it, and that's such an overwhelming for them. That must make them feel so incredibly just warm, because everyone appreciates what they've done with it and how they've tried to bring it up from where it started. And right, perhaps there will be some baggage if they use the name Battlefront 3. Perhaps there will still be that stigma on that certain part of the internet, where people still believe the game, or it's still connected to EA. So perhaps they do need to do something different, and maybe that's the direction they're moving in now.
Maybe it is
speculative. Yeah.
Maybe Respawn's getting a first-person shooter too. I don't know.
That'd be interesting, actually.
Titanfall style Battlefront. Let's go.
For some reason, I only think of them as like, oh no, they can only make single-player Star Wars games because they've done Fallen Order. But no, they've made Apex and Titanfall. Of course, the guy.
Of course, they could. Yeah.
Vince Zampella, the creator of one of the creators of Respawn, creator of Infinity Ward. He was one of the founders of Call of Duty and Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Is incredible. He's the guy leading that company. So, and that'd be crazy. FPS, full FPS Star Wars experience. Yes, please. Republic Commando style.
Yes. Now you're talking dirty to me. That would be great. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to do it for today. So from a Galaxy of Heroes perspective, I don't know if we need to worry too much just yet. We do also have a road ahead coming up where Capital Games has told us that they are bringing a new game mode coming in, and so they definitely do seem to be planning on more updates. If this news would have dropped before they had confirmed that, I might be a lot more concerned, but with that announcement that they dropped in the Q&A recently, I think we should still see several updates coming to Galaxy of Heroes yet, and I think it's important to always keep in mind that all the money talks, and this game is still very profitable. Galaxy of Heroes is. Unfortunately, it appears Battlefront was not. Well, Bombastic, I want to thank you for coming on the video, and as you find other games to cover here, best of luck to you. Hopefully Battlefront still has a strong community. You could keep making games for it, and something else comes along that can give you the success you deserve. Always love what you do, man.
Thank you so much. No, I'm so positive that it will, and it was a pleasure being here today. Thanks so much for having me, man. It's great to catch up.
It really was. You guys should all check out Bombastic on YouTube. I was talking to him before about doing Twitch. I don't think you do Twitch right now, right?
Do not.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully
YouTube's where it's at.
YouTube is where it's at. He's got great videos. I'll leave a link to his videos down in the comments below. I'll pin a comment, and you guys can check that out. Give him a sub and follow him for not just Battlefront content, but Star Wars stuff too. So, all right, Bombastic, thanks again. And as always, my brothers, don't forget,